Good afternoon, Anne Arundel County. Good afternoon, America. Welcome to Promoting. Don't get fooled again with class. I believe this is number 45. I'm your host, Anthony Bynum. The name of our production company is the Glen Burnie Players. These are exciting times here in Anne Arundel County. We're going to talk a little bit about that over the course of our show. First, though, we have some shout outs. Let's start off with our affiliates. So we have Amherst Media. They're in Amherst, Massachusetts, and they run our show. We appreciate you. We have Greenbelt Cable Access, which is in PG County. They run our show. We want to thank you. As in fact, this weekend, I'll be down there for some training. I want to become a animator. So we're going to take a course, kind of a crash course. I'm going to learn what I can learn and try to share it with you through some of our other media products. Also, last weekend, I think I announced that I went up to New York to go to the orientation class for Manhattan Neighborhood Network. Hopefully within a couple of weeks, I'll get a link from them and we'll try to join their operations also so we can share the word of what we're doing here with the Glen Burnie Players. So these are exciting times. They're important developments. Now, we also want to have some announcements, very important announcements. There are events coming up around the pike. There are two that are coming up with the Greater Ferndale Civic Community Association. On 3/23, they're going to have their annual Easter egg roll. So that's going to be fun. I believe they're having it over at Cromwell Elementary, nice big field over there. On 3/23, when you pass the building, there should be some information about it. Again, 3/23, the Easter egg roll. On 5/18, there is Ferndale Day. We've been talking a lot about that. They're preparing for it. It's coming together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. They have that over at I think it's Senator Wagner Field. We got a little time for that one. Hopefully we'll have good weather when that time comes. Now, John Wesley United Methodist Church also is having some events in the future. So one of them on 3/29 is the Good Friday Fish Fry. So if you like fish, that's the place to be, right? Also, they have an event on 5/28, the same day as Ferndale Day, but it's later in the afternoon. I believe it's from 4 to 7. It's called Jazzing with the Ushers. It's going to feature Wes Watkins Jr.'s band, Wes Watkins Jr., Wes Watkins, rather, he's not the junior, son's a junior. His band, Count the Cost. Also on 6/23, a little farther out in the future, there's an event happening. All these are happening at the church, by the way. This is the Bike Cart Truck Blessing event. So you have a nice fancy truck, car, motorcycle for that matter. You want to have it blessed, that's the place to be. All right. We have our first official underwriter. So it's the cleaning chef, and there'll be more information about the cleaning chef in the credits. But we are thankful for having our first underwriter for Don't Get Fooled Again. So thank you very much for that. Now, let's go forward with the first segment of the show. This is the most admired segment, and we're going to go to screen share. Get that started. There it is right there. Perfect. Okay. Cesar Romero, actually Cesar Jr., Cesar Julio, or probably pronounced Julio, Romero Jr. He was born 2/15/1907. He died 1/1/1994. So he's the greatest, we think of him, we think of the greatest villain in the history of television villains, according to me, because he was the Joker on Batman, the 1960s Batman, and he was very good. He was very good. He was funny, but he was deadly. You know what I'm saying? But there was much more to the Joker than the 1960s version. There was much more to Cesar Romero. In fact, he was actually in his late 50s when he took on that role. So Mr. Romero was in film, radio, and television for over 60 years. He was born in New York. His mother was a concert singer and said to be the daughter of a famous Cuban national hero, Jose Marti. His father was born in Barcelona, Spain, and immigrated to the States in 1888, where he worked in an import-export business, or import-export merchant was the official title. Now, Caesar was tall. He was 6'3", a very handsome man. And routinely, when he started to get in the business somewhere in the 30s, um, he always played the role of Latin lovers because it was pretty clear he had an accent, right? So that was the role he played, and he played him for like 20 years up into the 50s. It's unclear when he got into the business, but he worked with some industry giants. He worked with Marlene Dietrich in one movie, Betty Grable in another. That's not too shabby. They're big time Hollywood stars back in those days. Uh, he played in 1939 a role. He didn't say a whole lot, uh, but it was an important role. You see, it's my favorite Shirley Temple vehicle, The Little Princess. This is where her father was fighting the Boer Wars. He was in South Africa. He was noted that he was not known, but he was there the whole time, but he had amnesia. He was in a hospital the whole time. And so she went from being in the boarding school to working. See, oh man, that was rough. That was rough. Anyway, he played the role of Ram Das. He was the Indian manservant. He didn't say a lot, and he wore a lot of makeup for the role. I do remember it, but that was that movie that was a staple in the 70s. It was always on the UHF channels, and you know, he, like I said, he was just a presence. Even in that role, he brought dignity to that role. So, more importantly, when duty called, he answered. You see, he served in the United States Coast Guard from 1942 to 1945, and he rose to the rank of Chief Petty Officer. He saw action on the USS Cavalier during both Tiananmen, I believe it's pronounced the Tiananmen campaign and the Saipai campaign. Folks, no one was safe, okay? There were kamikaze pilots out there, people who were willing to give their life for their country. So, to Cesar Romero, hip, hip, hooray, hip, hip, hooray. Now, we're going to move on to something of consequence regarding Anne Arundel County. What we're looking at this week is the Charles Carroll House. It's located in Annapolis on Duke and Gloucester Street. Now, this famous house celebrates 300 years of history. It's associated with one of the most famous Catholic families in Maryland in those days, the Charles Carroll, or the Carrolls of Carlington, rather. Today, it sits on the grounds of St. Mary's Roman Catholic Church, again, in Annapolis. It's 300 years old. A lot of history there. All these houses are in the National Register. This is, like I said, a great property, a great story. So we're going to start with a screen share. Cesar Romero, right? So I was looking for something about villains, because we do need them in our TV to make things interesting, right? So I'm going to read a poem. This is actually from the Poem Hunter. I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but it's called Villains, and it's written by a William Levy. So it goes like this. The man in the black hat smiles. A deadly cold grin reaches him. The pain he wants to bring, the destruction he has to cause. He has no time for morals, no time for beliefs. He knows they are vanity. He knows they are a waste. Breathing in the air, living in his hate, time only for himself, a self-consumed human being. A dark cave is his home. He lies in my soul, just like the dead hero. Again, it's called Villains, and it's by William Levy. A lot going on in Anne Arundel County. A lot of announcements, folks. A lot of happy times to look forward to. So, for everyone here, the Glen Burnie Players, again, my name is Anthony Bynum. Until next time, bye-bye. Yes, Anne Arundel County, I have one other announcement to make. a Community Day fundraiser event. It's being held by the Cedar Morris Hill Improvement Association. It's called the Paint and Sip. It's going to be held on the 22nd of March between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. The location is 351 Arundel Court Road. You can simply go to the Facebook page at Cedar Morris Hills, or you can call Megan for information. It's 443 784 6961.